Hello, I'm Trevor Alonzo. Welcome to Dracula Reviews. I'll be going over the highlighted Dracula movies. The best place to start is at the beginning, the first Dracula movie, with Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, which was released in 1922, exactly 100 years ago. This technically wasn't the first Dracula movie. The first was Dracula, also known as Dracula's Death, which didn't follow the book at all. It was about a woman visiting her father in an insane asylum. She sees her music teacher there. He believes he is Dracula. She has a dream that she actually meets Dracula, played by the same guy. This movie is considered lost, and there's only a few frames of it left. Back to this movie, Nosferatu. This wasn't a legal adaptation, as parts of the story were changed to avoid having to pay legal rights. But Stoker's widow still took them to court and won, but she didn't get anything financially. Part of the court order was to destroy all copies. Obviously, not every copy was destroyed. This is a German film. The names were changed, but the German names, it does feel more like a German movie. Again, this was partly to avoid having to pay legal fees. So the names were Count Orlok is Dracula, Thomas Hutter is Jonathan Harker, Ellen Hutter is Mina, Knock is Rainfield, Ruth is Lucy. This is a very loose adaptation. Hitler goes to Orlok's castle to do business deal for property across from his home. Orlok sees a picture of his wife, Ellen. He sets his sights on her. As Orlok arrives, he brings the plague with him. So everywhere the vampire goes, he brings nothing but death with him. This film is well made for its time. The creepy images of Orlok walking around are copied today. It may look bright for nighttime, but this movie was meant to have filters over it. As it's projected for nighttime, it was supposed to have blue, and most copies of this that you find today are just in black and white. I prefer the black and white version, which makes the movie creepier at times. The name of the actor that plays Count Orlok is Max Schreck, which, if you're a Batman fan, you should recognize it. It's the name of Christopher Walken's character in Batman Returns. Of course, this is Tim Burton's nod to this movie. Now, supposedly, Max Schreck didn't wear any makeup for this movie, which means he looks a lot like this and held his head or fingers in certain ways to look more creepier. Yuck. There has been some speculation that he used a little bit of makeup. In a fictionalized version of the behind the scenes of this movie, Shadow of the Vampire, Max Schreck is a real vampire. And in that movie he is played by Willem Dafoe, who looks scary already. I do say Max Schreck did an amazing job. The way he walks around, the way he draws his arms out, creeping into each shot. Now, most of these images you have seen before, even if you haven't seen this movie. It's used a lot in TV shows and a lot of movies too. I actually remember clips of this used in a Halloween episode of Martin. And of course, the look of Orlok is copied in the first adaptation of Stephen King's Salem's Lot. And if you're a 90s kid, you'll definitely remember him being used in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? This movie was remade in 1979, though in that version they went back with the book characters' names. So it was no longer Count Orlok, it was Count Dracula. And of course that 1979 movie was called Nosferatu, the Vampire, starring Klaus Kinski as Count Dracula, who may be as scary as Dracula in real life. Google him for more information. It gets a little crazy. I don't think there's very many spoilers for a 100-year-old movie, but spoilers, the only way Count Orlok can be defeated and the plague to be stopped is by a sacrifice of pure blood that makes him lose track of time. Ellen lets Orlok drink her blood. He is killed by the sunrise. Ellen saves the town from the plague, which is a bleak ending. Again, this is well made for its time, so I forgive it for a few mistakes. I give this movie a 10 out of 10 wooden stakes. I highly recommend it for horror fans and Dracula fans. I definitely recommend it if you're a film fanatic and film historian. It's very much the backbone of a lot of horror movies. And thank you for watching my video.